So I just got finished seeing that movie there, Happy Death Day. By the way, people at the movie theater, well, you can see it, were kind enough to provide me with a copy of the poster for this movie. So that should tell you what I thought of it right off the bat. Very good. It is, and they do kind of lampshade it at the end of the movie, which I thought was kind of interesting. Let me get into how I got into this, which was the trailer. Now, the trailer started off where, kind of catty sorority girl BS, and I'm like, no, not one of these movies. And they showed it before it, and then it started getting into the meat of what the movie was about. And man, I'm glad I came to go see this because this is really good. Now, nothing spooks me necessarily. So like the scary stuff in here, I was grinning because that's just the kind of sick person I am. But it was really, really good. It started off, it's her birthday. She wakes up in some guy's dorm room. And then she goes back to her sorority house. Their leader is like, being all catty and mouthing off at her and stuff like that. And then she goes back. She goes to her room. Her roommate, after she gets in there for a second, she's like, "Oh, hey, I got you a cupcake. It's your birthday." And she's like, "How'd you know?" And stuff like that. So throughout the course of the however long it was, again not stated, every that night she gets killed. Now the killer's mask is kind of cool. It looks a little doofy, but it's freaking creepy. I can see it being really creepy, especially when someone's just wearing nothing but black and with like a hoodie on over it. Yeah, it's like this kind of cartoon baby, which is supposed to be like the mascot of their college. So, and the thing is, like, everybody has this mask, and the mask is readily available. That's what makes a good killer and makes something, a good mystery to it. I'm not going to tell you the ending. I might tell the ending of it. By the way, spoilers. I'm gonna spoil this movie for you. If you're not seen it, go see it first, then come back and watch my thoughts on it. Highly suggest this. By the way, there's a definite say a 4 out of 5. It's say 4.5. If I'm gonna have to rate it anything, 4.5 stars right on the bat. I got the poster, so that tells you everything you need to know right there. Anyway, so anyhow, so she repeats the day over and over again. And then what happens later on is that she goes to class to some doctor. Medical, she's studying medicine or something like that in college. But then, they have this, house meeting for the sorority, at lunch, and one of the only black girl who's a part of the sorority comes and sits down with a tray full of food, and of course, Queen Bee. I'll give you a clue as to what the B stands for. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're eating food?" And, being all hoity-toity and just really punchable. And so the whole day, the girl here, which I think her name was Samantha? I don't remember. I know it, it doesn't matter because the story's good, okay? But the main character, she's like, she's being like all catty and stuff like that. And through the course of the time, very similar to Groundhog Day, there is a character arc for the main character here. But honestly, I think it's done a little bit better here because it's done more serious, and it's not done in a comedic fashion. There are funny things that happen in this, no doubt, but and she kind of has fun with the repeated days. But one thing that's, interesting is that every time she's killed and she comes back, And one day she just comes up and just collapses after she gets up the same day, the repeated day. And they take her to the hospital, and they're like, "You have all these contusions and all this stuff going on. Like you should be dead. It looks like you have all the scar tissue and stuff like that." So every death that she has, it like scarred her, but she recovered from it and repeated it day. That's a little interesting, I find. So along with her memory, that stayed with her, which is an interesting way to do that. So obviously through the course of it, it's her birthday. We find out that her mother had the same birthday. She apparently died. We're not given as a reason as to why. I thought that would actually come up later on in the plot, but no. I thought maybe that would lend into like some supernaturalisms of what's going on. It didn't. I'm fine with the way it was. So it didn't do what's expected. At least not what I expected. So that was good. They kind of pepper things throughout it. Up to the point where she has the perfect day. She wakes up, says, mouths off to the guy's roommate who she woke up, and she woke up in this guy's bed. So he, his roommate comes in and he's like, "Yeah, were you able to do anything with that?" No, I think he said, and please forgive me, but I'm quoting the movie. I don't have to say it, but he basically made a comment of like calling her something like a sweet piece, okay? Which, by the way, we find out he didn't do anything to her. He was actually a straight up gentleman. He took her back and gave her a place to sleep, not to do anything with her, but just to make sure she was safe. So he was kind of being a proper man about that, which is good. Granted, you want to be above reproach, but still, I think that was cool. And in fact, through that and through all this other stuff that she was going through and learning about herself, repeating the same day over and over again, she started, obviously learning more about herself. So she has this perfect day where, she finally meets up with her father, who was calling her before, and she was always ignoring it. She meets up with him, basically, opens up to him about why she didn't like the day that much because her, reminded her mother and she misses him. Figured that if she ignored him on the day, she, could run away from it and that kind of stuff. So there's a very good character depth in this movie. But at the end of it, she goes to the, she finds out that in the hospital that I guess is on campus, there's this serial killer that's there. And he escapes. So she figures that out. He has the hoodie and the mask and stuff like that. And then so he escapes. So she figures that out. She goes to, the perfect day. She goes to stop him. She does. Shoots him. Blam, blam. Down for the count. Okay? Cops come, everything else. She's, she goes back. Her and the guy who she's, starting to follow with, they sit down. She finally eats that cupcake that her roommate got, made from scratch. And then she goes to sleep. She wakes up, and the day repeats. She's freaking out. What's going on? I did everything right. I said everything right. I killed the guy. What's going on? She's like livid. She goes back to her sorority house, whatever. Goes upstairs, and then her roommate's like, by the way, happy birthday, here's your cupcake. And she's like, I never ate it until last night. I died in my sleep. you poisoned the cupcake. She's, what are you talking about? She blows out the candle. She holds it up to her. She's like, okay, say I'm crazy. You eat it. I kind of find out apparently because there was a doctor. I didn't mention this. I forgot to. But the doctor who she had a class with, she was in his class. She was actually seeing him on the side. Apparently, her roommate was a nurse in that hospital, and apparently, and this guy was married. So she basically, after all this going on, she didn't want nothing to do with him anymore. She's like, if you don't have the balls to stay faithful, at least have the balls to divorce your wife because she loves you and you're a butthole. So, but anyway, so this nurse roommate of hers is like, I wanted his attention basically she wanted his attention and his advances, but he would always favor this girl, our heroine of the story. I forgot her name. I'm sorry. I want to buy this movie when it comes out. I have the poster already, so there's that. But and it's a real legit poster, so it's actually mirrored on the back. But anyway, so they get into a fight, and she ends up like punching her, so she's gasping. And while she does, she shoves the cupcake into the nurse's mouth, and she's coughing and hacking or whatever, and it's all red on her mouth, and it looks like she's bleeding, which might be. I don't know. She punched her in the throat, so could be bleeding. Anyway, she jumps up, grabs a light, and just kicks her out of the window. And then the sorority leader comes up. He's like, "What's going on in there?" And she's like, "She ate my cupcake." I'm like, okay, that's a good enough reason to kick someone out of the window, I think. Great. So, yeah, it was, and it was, like I said, I think that the story, the character arc was done a lot better here, just because of the delivery of it. I have Groundhog Day. I love Groundhog Day. It's a great movie. But I think that it has the character arc in this has more depth to it versus just Bill Murray in that movie. Not discounting that movie. At the end of it, they do mention that the guy who who she falls in love with over the course of this one day. They're sitting in a diner after the police come after she killed the girl, and then. Like her father calls, he's like, "Are you okay?" Da, da, da. Fine, Dad. I'll see you later. Da da da. And then the camera's panning out, and he goes, "You know what this whole thing reminds me of?" And she's like, "What?" He goes, "The movie Groundhog Day." She's like, "Never heard of it." He goes, "Bill Murray." She's like, "Who's that?" I almost wanted to jump through the screen and smack this girl, but she's I'm 37. Crap, I'm 37. Anyway, so I know about Bill Murray. I grew up watching a lot of stuff like that, and apparently she never watched Ghostbusters either. Come on. So, in some small portion, she does deserve some of those things that did happen to her because she didn't know about Bill Murray or Ghostbusters. But that's beyond the point. That would have been funny is if he would have said Ghostbusters, she would have mentioned like one of the people from the second one. The reboot, the female reboot. That would have been kind of funny, but yeah. So and it ended. Yeah, it was done very well. Again, just like Groundhog Day, no explanation as far as why it started or how it ended, other than the fact that she learned about herself and then stopped herself from dying. So. Now, there is Edge of Tomorrow is another movie done in more of a sci-fi vein of the whole Groundhog Day scenario. I've not seen that yet. I want to see it. I'm going to see it relatively soon. I'm going through some horror movies, it being October. Friday the 13th in October. So yeah, no biases there as far as what movies I like, but not at all. So if you have a chance to go see this movie, go see this movie. I'm sorry for shaking the camera so much when I'm talking, but yeah, go see Happy Death Day. It came out today, Friday the 13th. Actually, last night, midnight screenings, which I'm going to watch Brad Jones's midnight screenings later. I don't have my headphones with me, so I can't watch now, but I will watch it later when I get home. Anyway, I really enjoyed the film. Acting was solid, special effects, what there were of it. You know, it was all, from what I could tell, practical effects. It wasn't really gory. It was a PG-13 movie, so they couldn't really do too much. I think maybe if there's an unrated version, maybe it might be a little bit better. I think the gore, if there was any gore to it, it might have enhanced it a little bit. But I'm just spitballing, okay? So don't take me wrong. If you saw it and you liked it the way it was, it's great. I like it the way it is. I'm just saying it could have been punched up maybe a little bit, but it's fine the way it is. I'm happy with it. I saw it. I like it. You know you love it. You can't live without it. So go see it. Not sure how long it's going to be in the theaters, but go see it. There was a few movies that I got trailers for. I can't remember any of them right now. I'll put the list in the description, and I will also put in parentheses an exclamation mark for ones that I think are interesting or look interesting and possibly will actually go see. So, yeah. Thank you very much for watching. If you've seen this movie and if you liked it, if you didn't like it, let me know. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will see you next time for whatever movie I happen to go see. Take care. See you later.